Few weeks ago, Melissa sent me a photo of the front of this book, and she said, "Have you ever heard of teneriffe lace?" And I had not, and I don't know why, because I'm always reading articles on how to make needle lace, and I've learned how to tat, and I learned how to do bobbin lace and some other needle laces that I did not enjoy. I didn't keep doing them, but I'd never heard of this one, and so I decided I wanted to try it, and I find it a little bit easier than tatting, but you do need a form of some kind to do the lace. And so I started searching on the internet and I found this book for free. The author made it available for free at one of these educational sites. And a lot of people are selling copies of this book on Etsy, and I don't want to buy it from them because you can get it for free yourself. So I think that some of them are printing them up and sending them to you. So most of these vintage books that I'm about to show you, um, I have found them for sale on Etsy, but I have not bought any of them. So all of them are really old books, and they're copyright free, so you can print them up, copy them, and share them, whatever you want to do. So I downloaded this one, and I'm going to try to include all the links that I'm showing you, and that way you can go and download it yourself. But this is the book I started on, and she tells you how to get started, and she takes you through the basic knots and weaving and things like that. I haven't gotten very far into the book, but I want to try a lot of the stitches that are in there. Excuse me. So another place is knitting-and.com, and they have a page that has several books to download, and I think some of them have their watermark on it, but I don't think it actually prints. But you have to be careful when you click in here, because sometimes an ad will come up and they'll want you to download some software or whatever. So just make sure you're downloading the PDF. So right here is the link for this Tenerife Lace book. And but I'm going to give you a direct link for that one. All right, know that when you click on these, sometimes an ad will pop up, and you want to be sure you're clicking on the actual PDF document to download. It's not a big deal, but once you click on this right here, if you look in the fine print here, it'll say free PDF convert. Well, it makes it look like you're downloading these documents, but you're not. So you don't need any of that if you have the Adobe Reader. So you can, let's just click on this one, and see, this will pop up, and a while ago I accidentally clicked on it, and that's not what you want to do. So just scroll down. Don't click on that. That's just misleading. Go down here and you'll see the actual PDF document. You can click on it. I usually right click on it and save. Well, it's not letting me save it, so skip that. Just click on it, and the PDF document will open in your browser, and you can save it to your computer that way. Your web browser may do a little bit different, but I just wanted to point out that you need to make sure you're clicking on the PDF. So she's got several there on that page. Also, this is a book that I'm trying out designs, and there's tons of them in here. Now, they really won't give you step-by-step directions. They're just going to tell you what's in the pattern. But usually, if you've already learned the darning stitch and the knot and some of the other interlacement stitches, you'll be able to understand what they're talking about in here. It was kind of confusing to me at first, because I'm like, why aren't they telling me step by step and how many threads? But most of the time you can look at the picture and understand what they're talking about. And this one right here, I just learned how to do. And what I had to do, they tell you that there's 2 rows of knots, and then you start this little, this little darning section here. I couldn't tell how many rows they had darned, so you kind of have to look at the proportion of the stitches and see how big to make these. So most of the time when you're making your lace, I've said it several times, it's just a blank canvas, so you can put knots and twist wherever you want them. So that's a good book there. And another option is to make your own graph paper. And there's a website. This is another one that got all this garbage going on the page, and you have to be careful what you're clicking on. And it's incompetech.com, and they call this one the circle square. So you just kind of scroll down to see where you can put your information in, and you can say how thick you want the lines. You can choose how far apart you want them to be, and you can choose how many spokes. I usually do a multiple of 4, and the only ones I've done so far is a 36 and a 48, because that's pretty common in a lot of the pictures that you see. You can choose the color of your lines, and then when you go down here, be sure you click here and not down here, because these are, this one brought up another, it was leading me somewhere I didn't want to go. So anyway, just click on the download PDF. And again, I don't know your computer, mine pops up here. Yours may go to a download folder. I don't know, but that's how you generate your own. You can change it to metric if you want to. You would just click 48 or whatever you want, and then let's just open it and see. And I had red chosen as a line, so that's what it's going to look like. So you have circles in here that you can use, and you also have squares. So if you want to make a square design, you would just trace out the size of the square that you want, and each spoke would be how you wind your pattern. So I'm just going to kind of show in Corel Draw, since I'm not using an actual video camera to videotape. You would just take your if you want to do a heart, you would take that and put it on a light box and put your graph paper on top of the heart, and then you would trace out the heart onto your graph paper, and then you can trim it out once you're done. You can also angle like the heart. You can angle, this is a 48 spoke thing, so you can just angle it. I'm doing it on the software, but you would just physically turn the heart. If you want this little point right here to fall between spokes, you can do that. So also with the square, this one's already angled. Let me get rid of the heart. Oops, sorry about that. So the square, I kind of wonder whether you could actually make these designs off-center like that. I'm sure you can, and when you wind your web, you're going to have smaller areas. That's something I want to play with and see if you have to put it directly in the center or not. But on the square, you can, see if I can click on just the square. I've got it centered there. You can put the corners offset like this to where the corner does not fall on one of the spokes. And she explains that in that first book I showed you. Let's see, I went too far with that. Let's just make it 0. So if the square were straight, your spokes would go straight through the corners. So there's all kinds of things you can do. You can download clip art like leaf shapes and just whatever you want to try out. That's why I think that this, after finding this graph paper, I think it's going to be the most versatile way to use your pincushion loom, because you can just go print up whatever you want. You can change the size of the flower or whatever, and just trace it onto your graph paper, and you've got a pattern. So anyway, this is some free ways to get mini patterns for your teneriffe lace. So Anyway, I hope this helps and gives you some inspiration on what you can do to use your looms.